Silver Defender asks, if I had to pick two models that I worked on at ILM as my best and my worst, which would you choose and why? Oh, well, the best model I worked on at ILM was the particle accelerator. Sorry. Was the particle accelerator for Terminator 3. I think it's the best part of the movie, frankly. I worked on the particle accelerator with Fawn Davis and a few other wonderful folks, and I'm really proud of that model. It was insanely detailed. It had huge amounts of adjustability. It was a great model, and it was a really fun build. And like I said earlier, it was my first build as a supervisor. My worst model was the entrance to the nightclub from episode 2. I think I've told this story before, but it was what you call a set extension. They wanted a physical model for the immediate lighting that would happen out front in an atmospheric way, and they were going to digitally add in everything above that. And so I built this model of the nightclub door. This is the nightclub that Obi-Wan and Anakin walk in. And so I built the entrance, and when I built the entrance, I misread one of the measurements. And like, not like the height of a door. It's like I got the scale wrong on one axis, but not the other. This was something, so I built and lit and painted this set in a week, and it went to set where it didn't match the digital because it was off on one whole axis in terms of its scale. It's the biggest screw up I did my whole time in model making. It absolutely a terrible, terrible mistake to make. My supervisor came to me afterwards and he was like, dude, you are killing me. Now I've got to ask the CG department to fix this screw up at the same time as we're bidding against them for every job the model shop is doing on this show. He's like, you really harmed our reputation as a model shop by screwing this thing up and it not being discovered until it went to set. Yeah, that was bad. So that was my worst model, without a doubt. No one gave me that one to take home. I'm not very proud of that one. Let's see. I'm going to try another live question. Yeah. Oh, Baldo Fraggins was asking, was there a legendary proper piece of work that was casually sitting around? Yeah. Obi-Wan's cloak sitting under my desk. Yeah, right? Paul Jimenez asks, at ILM, you were the laser cutter guy. Yeah, I really was the laser cutter guy. Every time I saw Tori Belleci at ILM, he would sing, here he goes, laser boy. And he did it so often that I ended up, you remember when you could first burn your own CDs? I bought a CD burner, and one of the first things I did with it was I recorded the song, Here She Goes, Georgie Girl, like 9 times in a row on a CD, and I gave it to Tori, and I was like, hey, this is some of my favorite music. But Paul Jimenez notes that I don't do much laser cutter work now. What changed and why? It's the pipeline of how I think. I love the laser cutter. I really, really, really love the laser cutter. And at ILM, it augmented, first of all, the moment I discovered a laser cutter, I discovered I already had a brain ripe for using this tool. And by using this tool, I mean a laser cutter provides you incredibly detailed things that are perfectly flat. That's what it does. It gives you 2-dimensional model making perfection. You've got to add the 3rd dimension with your knowledge and your expertise. And so I had learned physical structure building by building paper models of famous landmarks. Alan Rose's The World at Your Feet series, which was a set of books with which you could build the Eiffel Tower or the Chrysler Building or the Golden Gate Bridge or the Taj Mahal. And these weren't like, you didn't pop these out. They weren't die cut. You had to physically cut every piece out and score it and bend it and glue it. And it was tedious in the extreme. And I built like 20 of those things in my teens. And the moment I discovered the laser cutter, Don Bees was the first person to show me how it worked and what it did. I was just like, I already have a whole section of my brain that thinks like this, taking 2D things and making 3D things with them. What I would need in order to use that laser cutter more often, frankly, is a machine here whose CAD program was just always on and ready to send to the laser cutter. That's the kind of pipeline I need in order to incorporate a piece of equipment like that into my flow. And I've just never gotten around to doing it. I have drawn things in CAD on my laptop that I have then ported to the laser cutter. But you know, at ILM, they built a really nice pipeline. You just went into the computer room, typed something up, got it send. There was this protocol, went out to the laser cutter, put your plastic in, watched it go, took it off, and you were done. When you don't have the computer set up or the pipeline, every time you do it, it's like this whole set of actions. And frankly, I can, much of the time, I can build it myself. With an exception, hold on, I'll show you. This is a recent build. Mission Models sent us a king's ransom of their beautiful model acrylics, and I wanted to build a full set of racks. And I did these all out of plywood, and this is ridiculous for me to do by hand. It's absolutely absurd. I did end up with something cool, though. Ah, yes, here we go. I used my annular cutters to cut all the holes that received the paint. And so I ended up with a giant bag of wooden nickels. And I promise you that at some point, I'm going to have a little rubber stamp made that makes this into a tested wooden nickel. I think that would be really fun. But this is totally something I should not be building by hand. I spent all day on this, and this is like literally, 20-minute laser cutting drawing task. And then probably, 45 minutes of cutting on our cutter. I could have been assembling those much quicker than I did. It just, for me, in order to add a process, it needs to be really, really intuitive. And as soon as I'm grabbing a computer, which I don't like having open here in the cave because it gets dusty, so I do it up front. As soon as I'm like walking back and forth to get a thing done, frankly, I'll just build it myself. I know that sounds crazy, but it's sort of how I like the flow of working. So it's entirely possible that at some point in the future, the laser cutter does become much more of a part of my process because it's a fantastic laser cutter. It's 150 watts. It's cut through half-inch acrylic really easily. It's a wonderful, wonderful machine. Now that I'm talking about it, I kind of want to get this. I do have a PC in there that's not being used. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced Word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Atom real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.